What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, June 15th. I'm back from vacation. Wish I could say I was tan, rested, and ready, but it's kind of arduous. And more than that, it was a little bit of a disappointment because Claire and I took off 2 weeks ago. And by the way, I want to express my thanks to Steve Elkins and Ryan Dawson and all the other hosts who took over the microphone for while I was gone. And we figured we're just going to take some time away from this. By the time we come on back, a lot of this insanity is going to be gone. The George Floyd riots will be over. No, they're still going on. Worse than that, they've now had a second killing up there in Atlanta, Rayshard Brooks. Plus, apparently, there's a third man who was killed up in Chicago now. So it's like the insanity is still going on. We figured the COVID-19 would be fading away, the quarantines would be over, but no, unfortunately, that's still going on. So it does feel like a lot of the same stuff's going on. And I wonder how the stock market did today. Ooh, just barely in the green. All right. So we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to probably open up the phone lines a little bit early today to let everybody get sort of things off their chest. And we're going to start here again with these riots here, where we have this story coming out of Investment Watchdog saying that Beijing is exploiting the George Floyd riots. So everybody's pointing fingers. Oh, they're exploiting the riots. They're doing this. No, this is the United States of America starting to deteriorate, to disintegrate right in front of our eyes. The counterterrorism expert over at, anyway, there's a counterterrorism expert out there saying the goal of Antifa is to overthrow the U.S. government. And it does look like that's what they're out there to do. Now, there's a new video that's emerged of George Floyd's murder, and it shows the police officer, Tao Thao, ignoring bystanders' desperate pleas to save the father's life as white cop Derek Chauvin knelt on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, leading to his death. Now, getting on back to Atlanta, this happened Friday night at a Wendy's, and apparently the police officer who shot Rayshard Brooks dead is fired. The police chief quits as the body cam shows the black man talking politely to officers seconds before he was killed. You can see the video. It's been all over TV. It's all over YouTube. This guy is cooperating fully. He is not fighting back. The police officer was not at risk of his life, and just all of a sudden, without warning, pulls out the gun and shoots the guy. And that just sort of kicked things off to a higher grid, if you will. Video appears to show a white woman setting fire to the Wendy's in Atlanta where Rayshard Brooks was killed. Black protesters shout, "It wasn't us, it wasn't us," and cops are offering $10,000 reward to track this white woman down. This is just spun totally out of control. Absolutely out of control. Now, again, down in Atlanta, the DA's revealed that one of the police officers, Garrett Rolfe, shouted, I got him," after killing Rayshard Brooks, which shows he did not act in self-defense. And he warns the officer could now face murder charges and slams the police for failing to hand over all the body cam footage. It's insane out there. It is insane out there. And in the middle of all of it, we have got this anti-cop attitude that is growing up, where they have the autonomous zones springing up in Seattle and other places. Ilhan Omar is out there saying it's time to defund and disband police departments. She's saying that communities will be safe without police officers, but fails to explain how that's going to happen. So Ilhan is out there saying, take the police departments apart here. And I'm sorry my voice is husky. I'm still on the tail end of some medical stuff here. So she fails to explain how Americans will be protected or crimes investigated without proper law enforcement. Meanwhile, over at Russia Today, they've got an article that so-called community policing is a trick. New enforcers for the same oppressors, not a dismantling of tyranny. Apparently, down in Atlanta, a CNN crew was attacked by rioters and beaten at that Wendy's. Apparently, they were attacked using skateboards. Somebody's already done a poll and said that and found that 77% of truck drivers will refuse to deliver to cities with defunded or disbanded police departments. So it's all just ripping apart here. Anyway, so let's talk about the autonomous zone. Basically, this is a zone inside Seattle that was declared to be autonomous this last week, and they said no police are allowed in. No city officials are allowed in. Then they sort of backed off and said, well, it can't be totally autonomous. We still need trash pickup. Now, last week they were talking about shredding the Bill of Rights and the flag of the United States. This week they're talking about a demand where all illegal immigrants are granted citizenship. So it doesn't sound like they want to be all that autonomous after all. And apparently in other cities that have tried to set up these autonomous zones, the police are just tearing them down. So it looks like it's one of those ideas where everybody's got this idea that sounds really good, but nobody knows how to actually run it here. Now, the woman behind Seattle's Chaz, that's what they were calling this autonomous zone for a while. Councilwoman and socialist Shma Sawant, 46, who's refusing to let cops into the 6-block zone, lives in an $800,000 home, but has railed against gentrification of Seattle. So more liberal double standards out there, I would say. Also in Sacramento, arsonists are targeting homes that are flying the American flag, causing residents to question what could prompt such attacks. Well, I would say probably immigration and naturalization, given the linkage to that demand being made up in Seattle. Make us all citizens. So somebody's asking the question, what if Obama was president and KKK terrorists took control of an American city? What would happen? And this is in response, of course, to the fact that Antifa has been declared a terrorist organization, and the Democrats keep trying to link Antifa to Donald Trump, saying it's all his fault. But we're tearing our own culture apart, bit by bit by bit. And there are a couple of stories that came out today that really show it. The first one has to do with Penny Lane, which is this street in London. It's very famous, was made famous by the Beatles song of the same name. But apparently there is now a demand that it be renamed because there is a theory being promoted that Penny Lane was named for Captain James Penny, who was a slave trader. Now, I will agree slavery is bad, but it's over and done with. And all this screaming about slavery was bad, we agree. We absolutely agree slavery was bad. Can we let it go? Because we have problems in the present day to take care of. And I'm sorry those people were made slaves. I'm sorry they couldn't run faster. But you know, slavery is something that has afflicted societies besides the black population. The Egyptians had slaves. The Israelis had slaves. The Romans had slaves. The Greeks had slaves. It is a common feature of American history, and it's a terrible thing, but it happened long ago. And I'm tired of the whining and crying about it here. So that was one story. Penny Lane may be renamed because, according to this theory, which is lacking provenance, Penny Lane is named for a former slave trader. See, they don't even really know. It's just something to grab onto and scream about. Disneyland has come under attack yet again, and it has to do with this very dated attraction called Splash Mountain, which is based on a cartoon film they did, back when I was a little kid. It was called Song of the South. And that is a very, very popular target for racial activists. because the characters portrayed in Song of the South are deemed to be stereotypes, Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox and so forth. When I was a kid reading it as a book, I didn't have a problem with it, to be very honest. It didn't occur to me that these animal characters had anything to do with people that I knew. It isn't until somebody comes up and says, oh, no, that's supposed to be a representative, of this part of our culture, and it's a bad thing. Oh, okay. I'll go watch Dumbo instead. So apparently there's an attraction in many of the parks called Splash Mountain, whose decor, if you will, is loosely based on Song of the South. Now there's a big pressure to try and get the Disney organization to change the entire attraction, to take out all the characters from Song of the South and replace them with characters from The Princess and the Frog, which will get the amphibians all over our case. Because there's no making these people happy. Cuomo is threatening state action against economic activity after refusing state activity against riots, looters, and arsonists. It's insane. It is really insane out there. I'm sorry. I'm actually sorry I came back from vacation here. Police in Southern California are investigating after a Los Angeles County attorney reportedly encouraged Black Americans to kill police officers and then vowed to represent them pro bono. That will definitely get him a lot of press here. People sharing photos of beauty products aimed at Black people, locked in cases and chained up to the wall to call out stores for racism. Walmart announces it will end the practice. Very honest, I had never noticed. All right, let's talk about COVID-19. Corporate media is still predicting a COVID apocalypse, second wave, but it just doesn't seem to be happening. It's almost like we've got these different factions. George, Ralph, Jim, Fred, COVID-19, the crashing economy. They're all vying for attention and focus and media dominance here. Okay, Florida's new coronavirus cases topped 2,000 for the second straight day after the state rushed to reopen. And they're talking about that here in Indiana as well. They started their first phase of reopening, and they're seeing an increase in cases. Talking about the economic news here, America's currency is losing exceptionalism. There are bearish bets on the dollar rise. Governments may revisit the post-war playbook as they tackle huge debts. And now, all of a sudden, all this time after we've been sounding the warning, they're out there saying, yeah, we have got major debts that need to be done, need to be taken care of, need to be paid off. It's been an epic bad week for U.S. brick-and-mortar retailers and landlords. 85% of small restaurants will fail by the year's end. And 80% of independent restaurants could also go out of business by the end of 2020. When you set up an economy, when you set up a business, you have a certain volume of trade you expect to come through those doors. And if that volume is not there, you're not going to succeed. And that's what's happening with all this COVID-19 nonsense. Apparently, a U.S. Air Force F-15C fighter jet has crashed in the North Sea, 74 miles off the Yorkshire coast. And they have found wreckage, but not the flight crew yet. See what happens with them here. Okay, getting into the international news here a little bit. Pompeo is telling U.S. Jewish group, China is a growing threat to the U.S. and Israel. Pompeo's out there saying, oh, yes, China's the bad guy. China's the bad guy. And this is the same Secretary of State who's planning to meet with Chinese leadership in Hawaii in the next couple of weeks to ratchet down tensions. That's his claim. Doesn't look like he's ratcheting anything down here. All right, the Pentagon starts bailing out companies that have lost business to coronavirus. Forget about the restaurants and the art galleries and the emergency clinics and the rest of it. We got to keep the war machine fed and operating. And so the Defense Department is sending millions of dollars to keep companies afloat, and more deals are expected. The Pentagon has begun to bail out U.S. companies that have seen large parts of their business dry up amid the coronavirus pandemic in a bid to make sure they can still build weapons. Yes, let's build the weapons, more weapons out there. More than 40,000 cruise ship workers still stranded at sea amid coronavirus pandemic. Trying to figure out how to get them back home, back into society. It's just new out there. Now, for those of you who are astronomy buffs, the most powerful telescopes in Chile, actually some of them the most powerful in the world, have been shut down since March due to the pandemic, and astronomers fear they're missing supernovas and other cosmic displays. Now, at the same time, Elon Musk has been launching his Starlink system, and on this last launch, they flew a satellite with a shade built into it to prevent it from catching the bright sun and reflecting it back to the ground, which had been bothering a lot of astronomers. Okay, 1 in 3 European women has Neanderthal genes that increase their chances of giving birth to healthy children. Apparently, it's not a bad thing to be partially Neanderthal. And the Neanderthal receptor for progesterone is linked to fewer pregnancy issues. Women who report fewer miscarriages were more likely to have this receptor. Authors looked at this data from 450,000 European women and their fertility history. Apparently, valuable stone axes discovered at a 6,000-year-old hilltop burial site in Germany suggest that Neolithic societies were not as egalitarian as previously thought, that they weren't quite as friendly all the time. There's definitely a burial mound up there. All right, we knew this all along, but we're going to report on it anyway. This is coming out of Daily Mail. Jeffrey Epstein had surveillance cameras hidden throughout his properties worldwide in a blackmail scheme to extort his powerful friends, victims tell new Netflix docs about the pedophile. And in the world of computers, iPhone vulnerability that lets users jailbreak their devices to run apps and software that have not been approved by Apple is discovered. Now, one of the things we did on this vacation, Claire and I, my iPhone was dying. And rather than spend the money on replacing the battery, we just went ahead and upgraded. And as usual, it's fun. But it was very annoying. These new iPhones can have multiple phone numbers. And it was less than 1 hour after we got these upgraded phones with a second phone number in them that we started getting calls from telemarketers. And so I have a message to you, Mr. I represent an extended car warranty company. I need an extended warranty, but I'm not going to go to your company. I'm going to spend more money to go to your competitors because I am really tired of telemarketing and these phone calls. You shouldn't have even had that number, let alone been calling it almost immediately after we got the phone. Very annoying. All right, we're coming up here on a break, and what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and open the phone lines here and give everybody a chance to sort of catch up on the last 2 weeks. And I have a question I want to float for everybody, because we've been hearing it in the news so much. What exactly is white privilege, and how does it affect your life? Okay? So, excuse me. Apparently, Facebook showcases a feature in its business communication tool, Workplace, that lets employers ban topics like unionize. We're going to take a break. Come on back. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to our show here. And again, a reminder that Republic Broadcasting needs your help to stay on the air, to keep on doing what we're doing. And the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're going to go to Jim in Illinois. Jim, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. It's good to have you back, and I hope you're feeling much better.
Thank you.
Two things. I was raised in the 50s and 60s, and I was out there protesting for civil rights as also the war against the war in Vietnam. Yes. I have never seen anything like this before. Never in my life. It seems like not only are we making steps backwards, I think this is the end of the country. I don't see how we're going to survive.
I agree. It just feels like it's all being torn apart bit by bit.
This is not only is it embarrassing, this is the first time in my life where I'm beginning to feel anxious regarding what's going on. And I am not a person who bites my fingernails or gets anxious or drinks or anything like that. I am majorly concerned, and I don't see any answer. Now, to answer your question about white privilege, I'm glad you asked that question because I don't know what it means. Because there are a lot of white people out there who are suffering and been discriminated against. So I'm not quite sure what that term really means, white privilege.
Well, just in context, it seems to imply that white people are automatically given stuff that they don't deserve.
See, I would disagree with that. No, I disagree with that. And not only that, look at the history of America. Like in the early 1900s, white people who were Irish, German, Italian, they were discriminated against.
Yes.
So, things go in cycles, but number one, I don't like that term. Number two, granted minorities might have had a disadvantage, but also white people. And again, this is what the powers to be are doing. Divide and conquer. Hate your neighbor. Speak against someone who's not the same color or the same class that you're in. It's called divide and conquer.
Yes.
So, well, Michael, I'm going to let you go. Take care and stay safe.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Getting on back to the news here. Apparently, there were 11 local television stations that were caught airing the exact same Amazon propaganda. And it was a scripted segment about Amazon and their role during the COVID-19 pandemic. The segment played like a commercial for Amazon, even touting the company's ability to keep its employees safe and healthy during this difficult time, despite the fact that many workers have been organizing to protest against unsafe conditions and lack of hazard pay. The segment is even narrated by Amazon spokesperson Todd Walker, who promises an inside look at an Amazon fulfillment center. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here. Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What's up, Mike? Hey, I hope you had a good vacation, buddy. All right?
It had its moments.
Okay. Two things I just want to bring up very, very quickly about the shooting here in Atlanta. I'm not one, far from taking the police side. And in this case, I'm kind of have mixed feelings. But InfoWars and also High Impact blog with Brian something or another, I'm not sure of his last name, but he's certainly not pro-police by any stretch of the imagination, showed a video of what happened when they tried to handcuff this guy, and he overpowered both of them and took this one guy's taser and shot at them with the taser, and then he was shot. Now, my own thing, I don't know if they were right to shoot him because of the taser, because supposedly a taser is not a deadly weapon. That's what we're told. That's why police use them in a lot of respects. But whatever the case, that's not. So that's really what happened. I mean, I saw the films. Both Brian had it and the
Sean Hannity had it about a half an hour ago.
Huh?
Sean Hannity had it about a half an hour ago.
Hannity, I normally don't watch Hannity. I don't bother with Hannity anymore for a long time. But anyway, the other thing is as far as Cuomo goes in New York, what he's doing with his masks and with his social distancing. First of all, this man's a murderer. He's a mass murderer. He killed literally thousands of people in these nursing homes by sticking sick people in those nursing homes. And, obviously people in nursing homes are not the best to help. They're mildly, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So he knew what he was doing. He's not a, he may not be the brightest guy in the world, but nobody can be that stupid. So I believe he did it on purpose. He wanted that body count up there, and he got it. And that's the whole thing about Cuomo. The man is a fascist. He comes across like a gangster, which he really is. The whole family there, the whole family, Cuomo family is nothing but gangsters.
Mark, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials.
Okay, yeah,
There's a caller waiting on the line. We'll be right back. And welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Peter in Los Angeles. Welcome, Peter. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm glad to hear you back, Mike. We missed you, I got to tell you. I can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're on the air.
Mike, yeah, I'm calling in to weigh on what white privilege means to me. And I'll tell you what it means, Mike. It means fighting all these wars and paying for all these wars and not getting a veteran's benefit that really matters because it's given away in affirmative action. It means having half the economy, with the most operative part of the economy anyways, the government at any level and contractors to government, where we are discriminated against in employment. It means picking up more than half the tax bill and paying for the completely inoperative, dysfunctional black community, expecting to put up with their crime, expecting to put up with their sloth and welfare, and it means all that. It means not being able to have an identity or celebrate who we are. Everybody else is allowed to do that. We are not. They will spend any effort they can to keep us from having an identity at all. White woke is something they won't happen. They won't let happen. It means basically having your children go to school and learn in front of other children that they're evil, and of course making those children targets. It means that we are bearing the guilt for everything, even though we built pretty much everything. Everything from when people say cultural appropriation, and I say, well, what about the pants you're wearing, right? How about the language you're speaking? Whatever. I mean, all these things are aimed at us and nobody else. And that's what it means to me.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I got an email here saying white privilege is when you can be born to desperate poverty, still manage to get an education and get a good job and earn a decent living, but you have the advantage of having parents who were at least married when you were born and for a good part of your growing up. As spoiled, just privilege.
Well, that option is available to of course, the black subculture, which has 75% single mothers raising kids. If there's a single mother, it's not grandmother. But you know what, Mike? We could be playing poker in the inner city and with 4 black guys, and 3 of them will have will have kids and not support them. And you know what? If you go to the Asian community, they wouldn't even be allowed to sit down at the table with you. They'll be shunned. It's an inoperative culture. It celebrates all the wrong things, and whatever they whine for, they seem to get. And now we've got to wash their feet. I will get on my knees to nobody. And I will not assume the guilt of anybody.
I agree with that one.
I've raised a black kid who got into Harvard. My kid is mixed. My kid got into Harvard. I stuck with my kid through thick and thin, sacrificed all kinds of stuff, and my kid's going to Harvard in the fall. And went to private school her whole life. Yeah, but I'm saying, I mean, it can be done. It's just their culture sucks. They celebrate whining underachievement because they can always blame it on us.
Well, I'll tell you
I'm sick and tired of it.
One thing that white privilege seems to mean is a higher level of expectation, where if you're white, you're expected to do more for less, and not take handouts and not ask for all kinds of free stuff, and to me, again, it's a form of reverse discrimination.
And to be leaned on, Mike, and,
Yes.
and relied on, and never complain, never riot. We never riot. You know, we don't loot, we don't burn, we don't steal. You know, we not in riots, anyways. And it's just, and we're not allowed to celebrate our identity. For the people who invented, well, look around you. What didn't we invent? Okay, we didn't invent noodles, and we didn't invent the street light, apparently. But everything else we did. Rockets, computers, internal combustion engine. Anyways, whatever. That's it for me, Mike. I've pitched my pitch there.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on your young one getting into Harvard this autumn. And, you've obviously done very well as a parent. And we're going to let you go here. And the phone lines are open again, 800-313-9443. Now, up in Connecticut, they had a policy that allowed transgender athletes to compete in girls' sports. And the U.S. Education Department's Office for Civil Rights has ruled that this violates the civil rights of the U.S. Education Department. This violates the civil rights of female athletes. Finally, some common sense breaking out on that one. Okay, so let's see. I had another one of these set up down here. And there we are. Apparently, subpoenas have gone out in the Obamagate case. That'll be nice to see what's going to be happening there. And let's see. Let's go back to the phones to Douglas in Tennessee. Hello, Douglas. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, I had a comment that I haven't really heard being made on some of the shows, and I'm kind of disappointed in the critical thinking skills of some of the callers, these shows I'm hearing. Regarding the shooting in Atlanta, where there is a video of him actually attacking and assaulting police officers, and actually jumps in a car and hits another car. I think it's a police car he hits with his vehicle. And then I hear people defending that all he had was a taser, and a taser isn't lethal, so why did they kill him? Well, with a taser, you can get a cop's gun. You turn the taser on the police officer and you incapacitate him. That police officer has a gun you can get. That police officer is trained not to relinquish it.
Tasers under the certain circumstances can be fatal.
Yeah, they can. Absolutely. But I hear callers saying that he had a taser. Why did they have to kill him? With a taser, he can get the gun from the police officer. And he already assaulted the police officer. I saw the video of him attacking one of them. And one of them retreats. The police officer retreats while he's being attacked. Another comment I wanted to make is it's not politically correct to say this, but this is the truth. If you were a Martian and you dropped down to this planet and you looked at a government application, you see the little boxes on race. There is no mixed race box. There is only white, black, there's Hispanic, non-white Hispanic, Samoan type of Pacific Islander or other. There is no mulatto. There is no mixed race. There is no Asian white mixed race. So the government has been forcing people to self-identify and engage in identity politics our entire lives. So that's kind of where the government has trained people to believe that all of these people are one or the other, and they're not in between, and they're not both. Well, that's just not factual. A Martian would look at that, and it would be like him watching the Star Trek episode of the half white and the half black on one side, and the half black and the half white. Yeah. That's what a Martian would look. Okay, he'd say, I guess that makes sense to you guys, but it doesn't make sense if you're looking at it impartially. So we're forcing people to do this.
I wouldn't know which box to check.
You wouldn't know what?
I wouldn't know which box to check.
Yeah, I understand. I understand a little bit about your background. I have some Asian, Central Asian. I don't think it's not Mongol. It's Anatolia area, somewhere in there. Caucasus. So I'm not, and of course, if you're European, you're part Neanderthal, 3-4%. So you're,
Yep.
as a European, that's one of your characteristics. So it makes me look at Elizabeth Warren and her scratching a box that she really doesn't fit into. I kind of rethink that. It's ridiculous on the face of it, but when you look at all these other people that are checking black when they're obviously part white or part something else, I kind of, now I'm kind of, maybe it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but I'm kind of looking at Elizabeth Warren like, maybe she's not so far off base. Anyway, that's all my comment. Thank you, Mike.
All right, you got it here. And apparently riots are starting in Atlanta. It's on the air right now. All righty, so let's go back to the phones here to Lloyd in South Carolina. Hello, Lloyd. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, buddy? It's kind of hard. It was Mike from the control room told me it was kind of hard to hear me, so I'll just kind of get the general point out. The masks not being worn by the leadership. Definitely do as I say, not as I do.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a bad sign to send. Kind of a bad sign to send. But I'm a veteran of 8 years and 2 deployments, and I'm African American. My daughter is African American and Caucasian. So when people are, out and about and pulling the identity politics, on the face of it, her and I could just blend into a crowd of maniacs, but in reality, we got some sense and she's free. So, I don't like how this whole dynamic is, no pun intended, black and white. Like it's kind of bothering because you can see the fear. It kind of resonates around groups of people. I mean, it's almost tangible. So just kind of want to throw that out there that we all need to kind of realize who the enemy is. And like a couple callers said before, arm yourself with intelligence, something they can't take away. Thanks.
Yes. Anything else?
Oh, no, sir. That's all I got. Thank you for your time.
All right. Well, thank you for the phone call and thank you for the information. And our phone lines are open again, 800-313-9443. Okay, getting on back to the news here. Comment that came out of, hang on a second. Taking a little while to get back in stride here. Investment Watch blog again. Does it annoy anybody how the media is trying to make the protests more about race than about police brutality? Yeah, I definitely would. I mean, I'm sorry. I agree that neither of these individuals should have died. But on the other hand, it wasn't without provocation. And we do need to address the issue of police brutality because as long as that's out there, it will be exploited by those who want to take our society apart. All righty. Okay, a lawsuit has been filed for blocking hydroxychloroquine. It was all about the money. It's always about the money here. And apparently more coronavirus patients are developing neutralizing antibodies after recovery. Are they enough to head off another infection? That, at the moment, is a huge part of the debate. Will the vaccine actually work? Is it going to do anything? The New York Times is siding with the Antifa terrorists who took over Seattle. And in other news, you can't expect much press coverage because stories that make Trump look good are forbidden. Today they had experts were out there saying that there is no question that Trump is going to beat Biden. And I'm in agreement. And I'm not 100% thrilled about it, but I'll take Trump over Biden pretty much any day. Forbes has reported that 800,000 people have now registered to attend Trump's Tulsa rally while Biden struggles to get even 70 people. Meanwhile, apparently Biden has narrowed his potential VP list down to about 6 people. None of them are Hillary Clinton. Huzzah, 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 huzzah. Okay. Germany is set to pay 13 billion euros more each year to the EU as it patches holes left by Brexit and COVID-19. Norway has halted their COVID-19 tracking app over privacy fears in the latest blow for the controversial software. Okay, we're going to go back to the phones here to Bobby in Florida. Hello, Bobby. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, I was talking to you before. I hope my speaker's not bothering you. I got it on.
Okay.
Turn it off. Yeah, I think they're going to go for the power. I was telling you before, these monkeys, they're going to do something with the power.
Yeah.
That's my fear of it all. And I still remain with it. There's more good people. There's just good people on whatever side. I'm with the cops on this. I really am. I'm sorry. I've had my issues with the police. You know, we got good with families with everything. But I'm worried about them shutting down the power. I think that's their next move. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I didn't think people ought to prepare for that.
I would
it's crazy.
agree
It seems like the police. I mean, they're not doing enough. Or the National Guard should have went in there when all this stuff happened. I mean, you had the Jade Helm, all these exercises they were doing, like they were preparing for this 5 years ago. Everyone was waiting for something kooky, something nutty, and it's going down, and they're not doing anything. You know, and you talk to people, and they go, well, they won't let Trump do this. The Democrats, the Republicans, I'm so sick of hearing that. It's the same animal. You know, it's, I don't know, but I tell people, I've just had a feeling about all of it, and if that's their next thing, if they really want to hurt everybody, not just defund the police or the fire department, they cut the power, then we're all in trouble. So
yes.
Me, I'm gearing up for it. You know, I'm thinking about doing the well thing, and I've got my generator, and I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that out there. I'll let you go.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Don in Arizona. Hello, Don. We're going to take you through the next commercial break. What's on your mind?
Well, Mike, yeah, it's good you're back. This deal in Atlanta, the guy, they were talking very calmly for a long time. Now, we don't know who made the decision to put this guy under arrest. They could have just sent him home. He was drunk and towed his truck. But we don't know if it was these cops there that made that decision. It's probably the guy back at their boss. You know, I'm guessing their boss back at the station told him.
All right, stay on the line.
You want me to hang on there?
Now, I want you to hang on. We're going to put you on hold, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to our program here. We're talking with Don in Arizona. We're talking about all these terrible shootings that are going on here. And the thing that really bothers me is we don't have the video that links the shot of Ray Shard talking comfortably, peacefully, non-threateningly with the police officers with the next segment of video that shows them running down the street exchanging fire. And we don't have the piece that goes in between that tells us who it was who escalated the situation.
Mike?
Yes.
Hello, Mike. Can you hear me?
You're on the air.
I saw one part of the video where they were tangling on the ground. Here's what happened. I'm guessing. Some of this is speculation. This guy was talking to him. He was trying to talk his way out of it. They were talking for a long time, and he said, "I'm gonna play this guy. I'm gonna talk my way out of it." One of the cops made the decision. We're gonna bust him. We're gonna take this guy down. I don't know why. We don't know the whole story, but they did show some of that. They showed him tangling on. They got him down on the ground like they do, and trying to cuff him, and he would not take cuffs, and he beat him up. He overtook him in the fight. He was tougher than these cops were, that's what happens sometimes with these criminals when they're getting busted. They get a shot of adrenaline, and they just they take the cops, and that's why if you think about it, that other incident where they did kneel on the guy's neck, they used that Israeli tactic. But the reason that Israelis use that is because it works. You have the guy incapacitated, and obviously the guy's, you're not supposed to kneel on him for 8 minutes. But if they would have used this here in Atlanta and knelt on him, and they could have got him cuffed, and then they would have saved the life in this instance. See, they wouldn't. It's very seldom as they. But then that's just another thing. But what happened was the guy took off, and he not only beat up both of these cops, but he also stole the taser. So this guy wasn't that drunk, you know. He took the taser, and then he ran off, and he did try to fire the taser. And what's going to really get this guy, but, you know, the thing is, all this happens so quick. You know, this doesn't happen in your job, Mike, and you're sitting there, or, you know, most people's jobs. Everything happens so damn quick, and no cop is going to be perfect. People expect cops to be perfect. They're going to be, what the hell? You're not paying them $1 million a year, you know? I mean, you're going to get whoever you can get to do the job, and they're not going to be perfect. They're going to make mistakes. Now, in this case, the guy shot the taser at the cop. But what's going to get him is, right about at the time of rhythm, when the guy was ready to shoot, he turned around and ran, and the guy got hit in the back with his bullets. And that's what's going to be hard to talk his way out of in the trial, unless he had a really good lawyer, because actually he was, you know, it happens. He was probably aiming while the guy was facing him, and then the guy turned, and he just did not hold his fire. I mean, so you're asking these guys to just be unbelievably, impeccably precise all the time, and they can't do that. They're just normal guys trying.
I was hearing that on the radio today, where it says, you know, it's easy to sit there looking at all these little iPhone videos, but right. You know, in the heat of the moment, you don't know what went down. Anyway, Don, we're going to let you go. We're going to take a break for station identification. We have another caller waiting on the line, and we'll be right back. And welcome to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to go right to Dustin in New Jersey. Hello, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, I'm going to hug you like a roll of Charmin. Welcome back. If you can still get Charmin.
We can around here.
Yeah, you know, I noticed some stuff is... I've been noticing, though, have you been to Walmart lately? There's a lot of bed sheets that aren't available anymore. Like, I went to Walmart there's, like, no sheets. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, you either have toilet paper, paper towels, they got that now, and no bed sheets. It's weird. It's really weird, the stuff that's not on the shelves still, and other stuff that was on the shelves before the pandemic. The pandemic happens, it's not on the shelves. Now that's back on the shelf. I mean, it's like a supply chain issue that they still got to work on. But, Mike, before I got a rebuttal against Ryan Dawson. He's great. They're all great. But he said something that Tom says, and that it pisses me off, and it's just it's not factual. He said something about, well, if you look at North Korea versus South Korea's so prosperous and North's not. That's because you got, I mean, Mike, you know this, because you got sanctions on it for 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the same with Cuba. Like, I don't know why people can't see the same thing with Venezuela. Like lift the sanctions. You know, why do you need, like, if communism and socialism is so threatening, you know, if it's so bad, Mike, why do you got sanctions on them? Lift the sanctions. Let it flow. Let it naturally decide where it's going to go. You don't need to artificially mess with it. You know what I mean? If it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. Why do you need to put sanctions on somebody? Like, who the hell is it of any of your business? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, I know why we're doing it, because it's economics. We want to, like, grab their stuff. But, like, do you wake up in the morning saying, well, I'm going to put sanctions on Cuba? You know what I mean? Like, it's all about money. You know? And that's what I had a beef about Ryan about. Like, I tried to call in, but something happened, the call didn't go through or whatever. But, like, I had that beef with him about, that's, him and Tom, they always miss that fact. Like, with Tom with Cuba and communism and socialism, that fact always misses certain people. Do you ever notice that? Like,
yes.
Don't put the sanctions on people. Like, if it works for them and the people there, then that's their business. you don't have, like, you shouldn't butt into other people's business. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now,
I agree.
getting on the Trump, like, this is kind of probably old news with, he was going to have that rally. What do you make of the rally? Remember in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then you got to sign this waiver, a waiver that takes you, you know, that you don't, like, you got to sign so you don't get the coronavirus and sue. It's all about business and money. Like, my God, man, like, wear your mask and just stay a certain distance apart from people, and everything can just go along as it should. But, I mean, doing this whole thing of, like, you know, I'll sign this waiver and go to... Mike, would you go to a rally full of, like, 20,000 people mixed up in a I mean, that's just ludicrous. I mean, you know what happened in China, right? Like, what the cases are going up again now there, and Brazil and India is in deep trouble, like with the cases over there. What do you think? Like, I mean, I don't understand what the Trump, the rallies, like, he knows what's going on. Like, he has the information. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't understand what's going on in the whole, the administration is FUBAR. They're all messed up.
Yes.
You know,
They
like, I mean,
definitely are. Now, I don't go to conventions, pardon me, or large rallies. I don't like crowds. I remember there was one year when SIGGRAPH, which is this convention for computer animation nerds, shared the same convention center as, I think it was the Democratic National Convention. We were split apart by just 2 days. And so we all got to sit down there on the floor of the convention and sort of admire all the bunting. But generally, I don't like those kind of crowds.
Well, you know, Computex got canceled now, too, till 2021. That's the computer show.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, I keep saying this. Like, I don't like all this police violence, and I don't like all this protest violence. But, I mean, my God, man, there's, like, still this pandemic going on where, I mean, you got to take safety precautions for your own self and your loved ones. You know, I mean, going to a rally at this point in time, unless everybody's got an N95 or an up, I mean, it's just crazy. I just don't understand what, you know, I see in the administration there's an infighting going on.
Yes.
And I don't know if Trump, I mean, who's running Trump? Is he running himself? Or, I mean, we keep hearing Jared Kushner and this, I don't know, Mike. Like, do you think Jared Kushner actually has that much power for his daughter over Trump himself? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't see that.
I don't think so. I think
some people
Trump is getting the better of him. And he's out there, and he understands that the visual impact of 800,000 people under a roof is going to carry him through in November.
And Mike, that's all I have to say. Have a good night. How's Claire doing?
She's doing fine. She's in the other room right now, and she'll be on the show with us on Friday.
All right, great. Talk to you tomorrow.
All right, talk to you tomorrow. So anyway, getting on back to the protests and whatnot, apparently over in Portland, about 1,000 people gathered at Jefferson High School in Portland, Oregon on Sunday to listen to speeches. They went back later in the evening to tear down a statue of the third U.S. President, Thomas Jefferson. 2 ropes were tied around the statue's neck, and the group labored to pull the Jefferson off his pedestal, which had already been defaced with graffiti reading "slave owner." Okay, I disagree with slavery. We live in an age of slavery anyway. Just look at that 1040 form. But it is not fair or just to judge someone's life by standards that were not applicable during that life. I don't like the fact that Jefferson was a slave owner. I don't like what he did to Sally Hemings, but that was the normal for the day. So anyway, apparently NASA has warned of 5 asteroids heading toward planet Earth. Apparently they missed one, It actually passed closer than the moon. And so it's a rather rocky start to the week as the Earth is set for at least 5 asteroid flybys. It comes hot on the heels of another asteroid unexpectedly whizzing between the Earth and the moon without anyone noticing. Oh, gee, that's kind of a downer right there. They were supposed to be spending all that money to, keep us warned about approaching asteroids. Of course, let's be honest, what would they do? Asteroids on its way in. What are you going to do? I don't know. Popcorn. Alrighty. Don't ask, don't tell. New York City Mayor directs contact tracers not to question people about attending Black Lives Matter protests. Well, if you're contact tracing, what's the point? It's really insane what they're doing out here with this. Alrighty, queues and social distancing as shops reopen in England. And apparently a large number of police in Minneapolis are quitting, citing a lack of support from the city's Democratic leaders and the riots. Major police reform passes in Colorado, heading toward the governor to sign. Now, here is something that's getting a little bit interesting. Kim Jong-un's sister has stepped up and threatened South Korea with a tragic scene. Apparently, she is now running North Korea and exercising her authority as his natural successor. So, alrighty. Former CNN anchor Soledad O'Brien says a network exec told her she could only book the right kind of black guests. Question is, what do they mean by the right kind? Donald Trump supporters will be given masks for his comeback rally in Tulsa as he claims he is being COVID shamed by the left for holding it. Yeah, they're going to try and shame him for that thing, for that rally. South Carolina police released body cam footage of an officer shooting dead a black handcuffed shoplifting suspect outside a Walmart after cops say he pointed a gun at them. So, yeah, this one I could see coming. Nickelodeon suggests that SpongeBob SquarePants is gay in an LGBTQ Pride Monthly tweet. And in the wild, sea sponges aren't known to have sexual preferences, but according to a tweet by Children's Programming Network, Nickelodeon, at least one cartoon sponge might practice an alternative lifestyle here. Man has received a $1.1 million COVID-19 hospital bill with 3,000 itemized charges. So that's going to sting just a little bit here. After the speeches were over Sunday night, the protesters went back to chop, Times reported, adding that one of the protest leaders suggested returning to the West Precinct every 6 days at 6:30 p.m. as they walk back toward Capitol Hill. So they're still debating and arguing over, what the name is going to be. Alrighty, let's do this and see what we have. Do Palestinian lives matter? Not according to the UK government, which continues to cuddle and slobber over the rogue regime that terrorizes, depresses, and slaughters them. Page 2. Let's see. BLM protester 19 is found dead along with a 75-year-old woman in Florida after tweeting she had been sexually assaulted as police arrest 49-year-old man. Well, it's just crazy out there. It is just crazy. Okay, the Supreme Court today ruled that gay and lesbian people are protected from being fired for their sexuality by civil rights laws in major blow to Donald Trump's administration. The Supreme Court ruled today that the landmark civil rights law protects gay and lesbian people from discrimination in employment, a resounding victory for LGBT rights from a conservative court. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Okay, Ben Carson is out there saying society needs to grow up and stop being offended by everything. Well, finally, Ben Carson has said something I agree with. It really gets to a point of being ridiculous after a while, and we're going to have to grow up as a society. He's absolutely, absolutely right. Now, this is kind of cool. Down in Kentucky, well, I should say over in Kentucky, a tattoo shop is offering to cover up hate and gang symbols for free. So if you have a symbol tattooed on you that you really don't think should be there anymore, get on over to Kentucky and they'll cover it up. Alrighty. America's current, we already talked about that one. Let's see. Okay, a transgender woman who was arrested in a protest details her terrifying 2-day ordeal in a men's jail, revealing she was sexually harassed by inmates, denied medication, and refused help while having a severe panic attack. Now, there's a new book out about Donald Trump, and apparently Melania Trump told staff, "Stop calling me First Lady," in the aftermath of Donald's shock election victory, and reluctantly left New York amid complaints from other parents at Barron's school. Well, that's rather rude, I think. So, another story about Disney. This from Investment Watch blog. Are they the next big company to go bankrupt? And that would be a shame because they have become part of our culture. In fact, Claire and I were watching Mary Poppins last night, which today seems old and dated. And the technology is primitive. But it's a fun movie, and between it and 2001 is why I decided to go into visual effects as a career. So I hope they can pull it together, but I think they went too far down the road of let's make money. I do love the film Moana for reasons that will be obvious. Everybody's making a big deal about Donald Trump and this glass of water at West Point, where he appears to struggle with the water while descending a staircase. And Trump is claiming that he ran 10 feet to the ground after a video shows him unsteady on his feet and struggling to drink a glass of water. Psychiatrist says he needs a brain scan. Well, don't they all? But I think they're making too big a deal about this. Okay, we talked about that one already. How do you prepare for a revolution? Good question. You go back to John Lennon's original song. First of all, you set your mind free. You rise above the fray. You don't just get sucked into the looting and the rioting and the burning. Okay, no mask, no ride. Police block passengers without face coverings while others risk £100 fines by flouting new COVID-19 rules in force on the tubes, trains, and buses in England today. Okay. All right. COVID-19 case progress chart for key U.S. states. 12 states: Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Florida, Mississippi, North Carolina, Nevada, Oklahoma, Oregon, and South Carolina and Texas are now with new highs. Anyway. Another story, this one out of Investment Watch blog. Scientists are now saying that gender is defined by biology instead of gender identity. Meaning if your genes say that you're male, you're male. If your genes say you're female, you're female. Deal with it. Okay. once again, the people who burned down that Wendy's in Southwest Atlanta were white, not black. And the black community's out there saying, no, it wasn't us. Really was not us. Okay. Once again, science documents vitamin D's anti-cancer properties. This one's a little sick. Some COVID-19 vaccines are being developed using aborted human babies' cell lines. Apparently, the reason they can't identify the woman who set fire to the Wendy's in Atlanta, she was wearing her COVID-19 mask. That's a little bit of a problem. I mean, you've got everybody's wearing a mask, including the bank robbers and the muggers and so forth and so on. All righty. The pickup line of 2020, my job is essential. All right, we're coming up here on a break. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we'll be back after these few words. And welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Daniel in British Columbia. Hello, Daniel. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. I feel everyone's doing the sort of Monday morning quarterback on this Atlanta Wendy's. And yeah. I think it's this media. The media just picks these stories up to run with. I mean, statistically, there are going to be black men shot by cops, white and black cops. But they just, they pick and choose. And right now the time is obviously right to keep this perpetual black versus white narrative going. And, it's just sort of a runaway thing. You got Nancy Pelosi calling for more statues to come down. And the one thing I couldn't believe was the HBO getting rid of Gone with the Wind from their list. I don't know whether it's going to be permanent or what. But it's really ironic that the first African-American female to ever win an Oscar was Hattie McDaniel. She played the maid in that movie. So they kind of the left is eating itself, in my opinion. You got Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey's a billionaire, and she made her billions from, white housewives watching her program, buying her magazine. So this idea that whites are racist against blacks and not the other way around kind of blows me away. And then just on this local radio station I have here in Canada, I get on with this guy and I said, he's talking about Trump being racist. And I said, he's because the Republicans are racist. And I said, look at Ben Carson. This guy's one of the top neurosurgeons in the United States, the first neurosurgeon to successfully separate Siamese twin infants by the head. Never been done before. And this guy's African American. And he ran for the presidency in 2016. And this guy, he didn't have anything to say about that. Because, they just can't, they're trying to run with this lie of a narrative, and it's just not, it's fooling some people. It's not fooling everyone.
No.
And so I don't know where to go with, it's just up here in Canada, we had a Black Lives Matter a rally, I guess you could say, and it was pretty peaceful. And some guy in a pickup truck was being blocked by traffic, and he thought, these people are like Nazis, right? Because they are. They're all like, we're going to take over the street, and you're going to be late for work. So he stuck his hand out the window in kind of a Hitler salute thing, just jokingly. Well, then, the cops got after him and stuff. And it's just ridiculous. Like, you can't just stick your hand out jokingly like, oh, you guys are like Hitler. I mean, obviously he wasn't a Nazi, but they're probably going to try and ruin his life and dox him and everything. It's just ridiculous. And just on another kind of note that I put this together myself because it's my opinion, but, they say you can't say all lives matter, because that's racist. You certainly can't say white lives matter. But I think, in my opinion, because it's this media that's running this narrative, I think no lives matter except Jewish lives, because we're all considered insects to them. That's
Cattle.
the way I see it. And there's a lot of, we're cattle. And I think you mentioned something a few years back, and it's kind of stuck with me. But anytime you see these Holocaust movies come on TV, Israel's about to do something bad. And,
Yes.
they want to annex the West Bank. And right now we're all being distracted. So 2 nights ago on Netflix, what do they have in my queue? Oh, new on Netflix, Schindler's List. So I thought, okay, here we go. It's going to happen. Just when we're all looking the other way, they're going to try and annex the West Bank and probably lead to war with who knows. I just hope Vladimir Putin has something to say about it, because that's a tragedy. It really is. So I don't know. I don't know what else to talk about, but except for that. But it's good to hear your voice again.
Well, thank you very much, and it's good to be back again. And as far as you're right, Israel has built up a library of movies about the Holocaust and the Nazis that are perpetually rerun when Israel needs political cover for what they're going to do. And they've been talking about annexation for quite a while now. And so, yeah, we're going to see something. The interesting thing about Schindler's List is when it was first published, it was listed as a work of fiction.
Yeah, it's, well, the more I know now, I would actually list it under comedy if it wasn't so tragic. But it's just funny, like, Crimea, that was annexed by Russia, but it wasn't really annexed. It was they voted in 2 referendums to join Russia, but that's an annexation. But Israel doing this, oh well, they deserve it. It's their homeland. It's their ancestral homelands.
No, their ancestral homelands were up in what used to be Soviet Georgia.
Exactly. All right, thanks.
All right, thanks. We're going to take a break for commercials, and we'll be back with more callers after these few words. Welcome back to our show here. We're taking calls on the phones right now, 800-313-9443, and we're going to go to Pat in Fort Worth. Hello, Pat. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
There's something that's going to take a little bit to say it, so maybe if you could listen. You know the guy, the Young Turks, I don't know how to say his name, who cares? But he ran for office out in California with the hair lady, the lady Republican representative who was caught in her office naked, having a party with her women. He ran for her office, and he said that he was all for sex with animals, just don't hurt the animals. Well, fortunately, he didn't win, primary, whatever it was. Anyway, I heard him say, he said that of course he was wrong about Kerry. And I said, I got to look this up. What did Corsi do? And he wrote that book called Unfit to Command about John Kerry by the Swift Boat Captains.
Okay.
And took Kerry out there for a while. And so I thought, how would he say that? So I just looked it up. Is Kerry running again? And Kerry has said that he is not taking it off the table. Okay. That said, now, the next thing is, John Kerry's money all comes from his wife's Heinz empire, right? Heinz.
Yes.
Okay. Well, they lost about, billions of dollars, 20-something billion. And there's a lot of competition, catches. And what's his name? Warren Buffett, he has not given up that stock. He's holding on to that stock, even though it's lost all that kind of money. And I'm thinking, why would he do that? Well, guess what? If Kerry at the last minute jumped out there to run, well, he's been Secretary of State. He knows the world. Maybe he got shot in the rear end. That's where he got his Purple Heart. What reminded me was they did desecrate a Purple Heart monument in Michigan. It's on Facebook.
So that's where he got shot. So he has the Purple Heart and blah, blah, blah. And so that's why the Swiftboat captain exposed him, as unfit to command. So now we're at saying that Trump is unfit to command. So that is what Corsi's book is about. His new book is an e-book, and it's called Plan to Remove Donald Trump from the Presidency. And you can get it at CorsiNation.com. And I just started watching. He was on Spiegel's show for a whole hour the other day. And I started looking at it's already started. You mentioned him not being able to hold his glass. Well, he was at West Point, and he said that ramp was very slick. It was very wet. And hey, that wasn't even a thing to hold on to when he was walking. So, okay, he's unfit, right? Okay. And now his niece has come out with a book about him, another expose.
Yep.
And what, according to Corsi, the only way they could take him out as unfit to command, I'm talking about Trump, would be that, did he say that 17 people in his cabinet would be the ones who would decide he comes out? Yeah, that don't sound very copacetic, the way I look at it, but they say he's made so many mistakes on people he's picked, and he should have got rid of Obama's people all along. He never did do that.
Agreed.
So maybe that's what they plan to do now. I've noticed that everything that has happened to them in the past, they turn around and do it to Trump. So now, since Kerry's unfit to command, now Trump's going to be unfit to command. But you know what? Because they know they can't afford to let him get elected. Because they cried about his tweet land. He got 400 more thousand people in 2 days. The more you complain, the more people get interested. So they don't know what to do.
Well, you're right about that.
And they don't care what they do. Really, just don't let him get elected. We were so close to taking over this world. We got everything else for it. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay.
When somebody protests, you say, me thinks they protest too much. So what is that Young Turks and people against Corsi? Oh, by the way, too, that book, The Late Great USA, he wrote that too. And that was about how bad NAFTA was. And since then, I've discovered that it hasn't been only Trump coming after NAFTA and everybody in Texas, of course, but there was a Democrat who was against all that at one time. He was a socialist, Lyndon LaRouche.
Yes, I remember Lyndon.
But he didn't like NAFTA either. So they just got to drag out every piece of dirt they can to try to make Trump look dirtier. I just thought, thank you for letting me say it.
All right. Well, thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Mitchell in Tennessee. Hello, Mitchell. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. You there?
Yes, you're on the air.
Mike, I've come to the conclusion after putting a lot of thought into this that this particular system of government is not going to work any longer. Not this version of it. We have a country that's composed of, if I'm not mistaken, around 2.4 billion acres. I think that translates into maybe 3.2 million square miles. If I'm not mistaken, the total planetary population could maybe fit in a landmass the size of Texas. Each person gets a third of an acre. Don't quote me on that, but there's a lot of room.
Yes.
And does anyone really think at this point that if Trump wins or Biden wins, that the other half of the country is going to receive it and accept it? Why even bother doing this anymore? Mike, I've called Steve when you were out, and I've read some of this. Declaration of Independence, object events is designed to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, I guess we the people, it is their duty to throw off such a government and provide. It mentions twice to abolish a government system when it becomes despotic. Of course, it was talking about King George and the Third or whoever in the Parliament.
Yes.
We're at this moment where this whole thing doesn't work anymore, especially as we live in this technological age that I call the age of exposure. Everybody's on video. Everybody can see everybody. The left is not going to accept and receive the right. The right's not going to receive the left. Why don't we just go our separate ways? That's what they're doing anyway. I mean, this thing in Seattle is interesting because these kids or whatever the hell they're doing, they're kind of following the Declaration of Independence. You know, they're saying we want to abolish the system that is. The problem I have with it, that doesn't give you the right to steal other people's property and burn it down. You know,
well,
but
that's a big part of the Democrat agenda is, you have a right to the property of other people, whether it's reparations for slavery or reparations for Native American displacement. That's a big selling point. You have a right to the property of other people because you've been discriminated against racially, sexually, and that's a very attractive agenda for a lot of people.
No, you have a very serious. I mean, I could build both cases for reparations for the black community. I could build out both positions. The problem is, from a logistical standpoint, as we're seeing right now, you can't do it.
Yes,
it's not possible to do it without starting a civil war, which looks like we're in the process of doing. But
yes.
Mike, I mentioned to Steve that my concern is that other people are out there reconfiguring this structure the way they want it to be. Case in point, Bill Gates.
Yes.
The Department of Defense, the banking cartel, George Soros, Antifa. All these people are out there figuring out and going about the business of trying to design it the way they want it to be. So I would like to make a suggestion to the people of RBN. I mean, there's a lot of complaining going on, but what are we going to do? I know your view, Mike, was let it collapse. The only problem is that what's going to be coming back when it comes back together? I mean, when you do the reset, what happens then? What do we do? You can see this crowd in Seattle, they hadn't thought this through.
Well, they definitely haven't.
They know how to get water to their new country or whatever. I mean, they haven't thought it through. But how do you reset it if the government system doesn't work? It's befouled to the point of no return. We've long since, as far as I'm concerned, it's been delegitimized because the social contract has been violated over and over and over. So I would like to hear some conversation about what we're going to do when we reset it.
Well, we're going to have to watch out for the
carpet those rascals
bag.
out of office, Mike. I don't think there's any repair. It's either going to be a brand new authoritarian statist government, similar to what we've had, constitutional government, or you could go some sort of voluntarist route or some sort of hybrid. Like I say, you got 2.4 billion acres. I don't see any way that this thing is ever going to resolve itself. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And that's my view.
Well,
I don't think you can put Humpty Dumpty back together. This government's finished. It's befouled. All Thomas Hobbes said we had to have this government system to protect the good people from the bad people. Well, all the bad people found a way to game the constitutional system and get into positions of power. And by the way, the last thing I'll say, Mike, Thomas Hobbes was speaking in 1651. The people in society didn't have the ability to destroy planet Earth and everything on it. The bad people, the state of nature, those individuals, they didn't have the ability to inject vaccines into people and all this crazy sci-fi stuff. Thomas Hobbes was talking about we got to protect ourselves from the state of nature. He was writing his book Leviathan by candlelight, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm.
So in the 1930s, 1940s, ever since we had the ability to, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, blow the planet up X amount of times over, it's a new day. And I think we need to rethink this whole idea of authoritarian statist governments allowing this small coterie of individuals to wield this type of power. And a lot of people in the government, as you know, are being controlled by the people of the likes of Bill Gates and Rothschild or whoever. So I wish we could just start talking about a new direction. What are we going to do? There's a lot of people already setting it up the way they want it.
I think everybody's going to be facing some choices in terms of how they want to live their lives. And I'm seeing more and more people talking about getting out of the urban environment and going back to the rural environment and just saying, we're leaving all of this stuff behind. You know, the technobabble and everything, we're just going to leave it behind because it doesn't work for us. It makes us more useful to the technocracy. It makes us more useful to the bankers, but it's not really working for us.
Well, you make a valid point. I mean, people naturally separate. I live in Memphis, Tennessee, and I can ask anybody in this city, where's the gay community? It's in Midtown. People naturally want to be around the culture and the people they want to be around. That's natural.
Yes.
And there are applications of discrimination that would be permissible. I mean, you discriminated when you married Claire.
Yes.
So these things are not always considered to be bad. But the fact that people separate, I mean, I love architecture. Or how about food? I like that there's Italian food and French food. And I like these differences. And what I'm seeing now, especially in this age of exposure, all these people can't live together. It doesn't work. And Mike, it might be as simple as you've heard about the right brain and the left brain modality. You know, the gay homosexual is uses one side of the brain, and the conservative right another side of the brain. It could be that these people they cannot understand each other, even if they tried. It's like if someone is talking French, I do not understand that language. These people cannot.
Like they have a different word for everything.
Right, and I don't think that there's any way. What was it? The Supreme Court in the census of 1840, there was like a little over 17 million people, and the Supreme Court in the United States, and there were 9 Supreme Court justices, and there's still 9 Supreme Court justices, and you got 13. What is it? How many? 300 plus million people.
Yes.
It just and to me that's ludicrous to give not 9 but rather 5 individuals that amount of power over a third of a billion people. It's just all these things need to be reconsidered, Mike.
Well, if you go back to the original Constitution, the Supreme Court was not granted the authority to arbitrate constitutional law. They simply grabbed it for themselves and said, we're going to do this. And the result is we've had quite a bit of a mess.
Well, do you think that we're actually, as a society, going to be able to vote them rascals out of office and get this thing back on the right track?
No.
I don't either.
We're going to have to let it drag.
Query you about something so nonsensical. So, no one's advocating violence, but it does say in the Declaration of Independence twice that when the government becomes insufferable, you abolish it. Actually, at one point, it says it's your duty.
Yes.
It's really our duty. But what to put back, what to put in its place, and that's where I think a lot of conversation needs to go, because I guarantee you, a lot of these power broker types, they've got some ideas of what they want to put in place.
Yes.
When you talk about the globalists and such, they're steady on doing it, pal. They are doing it. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, Mike, I'll let you go. Thanks for the time.
All right, thank you. And we're going to switch over to Al in Canada. And Al, I'm going to have to take you through the next commercial break. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. That was a really good conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
You know, the bankers, they're in there. I called to talk about the Federal Reserve, the banking cartel that runs the United States, and
yes.
I think pretty much like 40 or 50% of the world still. The balance sheet now is sitting at $7.2 trillion. And that's up almost $3.5 trillion since last November.
Yep.
This is insanity.
It is.
That's only your country. They're just printing it like it's going out of style.
Yep.
Everywhere, all over the world. It's apparent that they're shooting for a collapse.
No, I still think they're trying to avoid a collapse, but they can't do that.
Well, yeah. So February 24th in 2020, the Fed Reserve balance sheet was at 4.15 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's at 7.2. That's
They've
horrific.
lost control.
And that's only the United States. I'm sure if you look at all the other central banks of all the other countries around the world, you're going to see the same trend. I think this was orchestrated.
No, I think they've lost control. I
Well,
really do.
they have lost control. There's no doubt about that, Mike. There's no doubt. But I don't think that this COVID-19 was unplanned, because there are there's a lot of evidence to point that it was planned, such as things that Fauci had said, a couple of years ago, what would happen to Trump and whatnot. So, like you said, just let it collapse. Maybe that's what they're trying to do.
Well, I think what they'd like to go for is a slow collapse.
Well, I don't think this is slow.
No, it isn't.
I don't think this is a slow collapse. I mean, even in 2009, which was deemed horrific, the Fed balance sheet shot up about 1.6 trillion, right? And it slowly climbed all the way up to around 4.5 by 2014, like a slow thing, and then it declined a little bit until like last August it went up a little, and then boom, it's almost straight up. I mean, This is a very, very this is a real definite look at what's going on in the economy of the United States. And that picture is the same picture everywhere all over the world. There's not one country that is doing well right now that I know of. So at what point do they think it's going to get better? Or can it get better?
That is anybody's guess right now. And the fact that they've lost control, I mean, right there, I'm hearing numbers like 6 weeks before the big crash.
Yeah, this is ongoing. And what's another joke, Mike? If you look at the the participation rate, the labor force participation rate in Canada and the United States, it's only dropped about 4 or 5%. I think right now it's sitting at 60% in the United States. Where do they get these numbers from?
Well, they're kind of making them up, actually, as they go along.
But I mean, even someone that really doesn't even understand how this stuff works. Okay, so unemployment has shot up about what 45 million in the United States.
Yep.
From I don't know what was it before? I don't know, 4 or 5 million or something like that, or even 6. But the labor force participation rate only dropped 5 percentage points. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like you said, Mike. It has to collapse because these kinds of lies. I mean, they're so blatant and they're so in your face now. They can't even talk about it because they look like idiots.
Yeah.
So, I hope you had a good vacation. Was it nice? Did you have a good time?
Well, there were some things I wanted to get done that I wasn't able to get done, and I'm going to have to deal with that down the road. I was hoping to get some much delayed dental work done, but that had to be put off. So,
yeah,
I'm glad to be back from vacation. It wasn't as restful as it could have been, but I'm sure I'll do fine.
Well, there's a lot of nonsense going on. It's hard to, especially for someone like you. You've been doing this for so long, so you hear all this, and it just keeps getting more. There's more and more and more.
Yes,
and it doesn't seem to stop. The
dental work
finally opened up here last week, and I was right in there. Boom, Tuesday. It's like 3 or 4 months since I should have went to the dentist. Like you said, I need some dental work. I needed some dental work done. I had some fillings in my front teeth that had fallen out. After like 25 years, so I'm walking around looking like, Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber. It's like, I don't like looking like that. It's a really shitty buzz.
Me
Really,
neither.
really crummy.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's just. So, I mean, it's nice that things are opening up, but now I hear that it might go the other way again.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. That's absolutely what I'm
and
hearing.
they're going to blame it on these protests, right?
Yeah, they're going to blame it on the protesters.
Right. Yeah. It seems there's the reckoning coming, and it's coming really, really, really quick. Trudeau up in Canada just said, after giving all these people all this cash, it's called CERB up here, like $2,000 a month. Apparently, 1 million people didn't qualify for it, but they got it anyway. So they were talking about, prosecuting them, and there's a minority government up here. So, the other parties are saying, no, you can't do that.
Yep.
So now Trudeau's coming out saying, well, we're going to continue on giving people all this cash for sitting at home. It's insanity. They're just building a whole bunch of people that are going to be dependent on the government or the taxpayer, to be actually more precise. And I don't see an end in sight here, Mike. I don't see it, except for what you mentioned, a collapse.
Absolutely.
Crazy. I'm sorry you had to come back to this.
Yeah, really. Me
Things
too.
would have been better for you.
Yeah, me too. And, unfortunately, it's going to be a while before I can take another vacation. And again, thanks to our tech crew and our other guest hosts who pulled it, a 2-week show with no repeats. And I'm very grateful for what they did.
Yeah, it was nice, but I prefer listening to you. Sometimes I rush home to try and catch your show, and sometimes I can't get it, but I try anyway because I've been listening to you and been on your website for a long time. I hope you and Lady Claire are doing well, and I appreciate your time, Mike.
Well, we're doing well. Thank you very much. There's the music. It's time for me to bring this show to a conclusion here. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We need your help. And we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.